To stand alone, or to fight side by side against the encroaching forces of oblivion.
Exotic Grunt Gaming here, and I'm bringing you a special video today on the Magicka Sorcerer PvE build, and hopefully try and make some sense of all these changes and the patch notes. And now that the patch has gone live, I've done a lot of testing today, and as of right now, I don't know if this is going to be best in slot. But for me, I've tried many different sets. I've tried Infallible Aether, even though right now has a huge buff on it that's going to get nerfed a little bit. Still didn't perform this well. And I've tried sets, let's see, I've used a combination of Necropotence and Julianos, what I'm using right now, which is working well. Used Necropotence, Mother Sorrow. That didn't work. Necropotence and Julianos, like we thought was going to be Biss, is no longer Biss. We thought Maelstrom Staffs were going to be a no-go, and my best Parses are always with Maelstrom Staffs. So there's a lot of variables, a lot of things have changed, but we're going to get right into it. Most importantly, and what I think most people are going to want to see and hear first, is the gear loadout. That's what's changed most. And so you're going to do away with Mother Sorrow. It's not that good. It got nerfed. I don't know why Sauce did this. Listen, I've been with this game for a little bit now. I've played a lot this past year. Put a lot of hours into this. Finally doing a lot more endgame content. And I have not had this happen, and I just think that Sauce was totally wrong for doing something like this. Personally, I know it might have been a little too OP, but you at least let it wait a couple weeks and not nerf it the day before the patch goes live, especially when you know people in the game and on the servers were farming things like Mother Sorrow, and then you go and nerf it a day before the patch goes live, and now everybody's scrambling to find a new best in slot set. People have already golded out weapons, which I understand. You know, it was a little premature on my part. I got a little excited thinking I was getting rid of the pet. That's not the case. So without talking about these sets, I'm going to go into what I'm using right now, what's worked best for me. I'll show you my DPS parse, how I hit the numbers that I hit, and maybe go over the combat metrics a little bit as well. But first, we're going to get into it. Gear loadout. Julianos and Necropotence. We currently have 2 5-piece bonuses when I'm on my front bar, and 1-piece Ice Heart. We are doing the 5-1-1, so we have 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium. Ideally, all divines. I cannot get a divines Ice Heart arm cops out of the chest. Luckily, you can fit that into your build. If you get a light, medium, or heavy, it's fine. You can craft the other pieces around that. I just went ahead and golded out just to get the most out of this so I can do some of these tests, even though I got an infused shoulder. So do know that if you got a divine shoulder, DPS would be a little higher, but again, negligible. It's so up to variable that you might even have on that Parse would be lower than one with an infused because your shock enchant didn't go off as often. I honestly, and your crit chance might affect it. So yeah, gear loadout, using 5-piece Julianos, and 1-piece Ice Heart with Necropotence. We keep Necro up at all times. We don't want it to drop on the back bar, so that's fine. We keep that 5-piece. We get 3 jewelry and 2 armor pieces. We craft our Julianos, and we do a lightning staff infused on the front bar with the shock enchant. So the nice thing about this set is the spell crit is really nice, especially since Thief got nerfed, so we got to find our spell crit chance on another area. Max Magicka always helps. And then since the 2, 3, and 4-piece bonuses on this got buffed, but the 5-piece bonus got nerfed a little bit, it evens out to be like minus 200 magic total. Such a negligible difference that this is still going to be, it still gets the most DPS because your spell damage is scaling off your max magic. dealing the third most damage at any of my abilities right now, sometimes second most. So we run Necro all spell damage and chance because honestly, the recovery on the rotation, we use Witch Mother's Potent Brew, but the resource management on this build is awesome. You're going to find some difficulty in trials and dungeons fights if you're having to constantly shield up. So that'll change a little bit, so you're going to have to make sure you are doing heavy attacks when you need to regain resources, but they'll regain a lot, and when you're doing a good rotation and on a fight where you can kind of, you know, really focus on your rotation, you'll be able to put out a lot of damage and you'll not have to worry about resource management too much. We do a lightning staff on the front bar. I tried both Julianos light staffs so we didn't drop that spell damage, and it didn't work out that well. The reason being is because we're weaving our light attacks between each ability, so we want our light attacks to be doing a lot, and since we keep Blockade of Storms up at all times, our light and heavy attacks are doing more damage because of the Crushing Wall enchant, and considerably more damage. And here, we'll take a look at it right now just to show you, give you some numbers. Let me load the fight. Where is it? Okay. So on this fight, I was using the same exact build, except I was using 2 lightning stabs of Julianos. Our light attack is doing 1,921, and our heavy attack, shock, is doing 1,223. So try and remember those numbers. Now I'm going to load the other fight I did after. Both fights, doesn't really matter, but I'll do this one, which I tested directly after, and I swapped to the Maelstrom Lightning Staff from the back bar. Heavy attack is doing 2,811. It's an extra like 1,500 damage, and light attacks are doing 2,554. That's another, I think, what I say. I think that's another like 1,300 damage. That per second. That stuff is not. That's not worth dropping. And I don't even have best in slot on the back bar. Precise was going to get buff. Got nerfed. Still outperforming. And the reason being, and I'll explain it to you, the reason you want to do this. Look, and again, if I know farming VMA is a bear, and the chance at getting a lightning staff is, very slim, or getting what you want is slim, but you can use both Juliano staves and keep that spell damage when you go to the back bar. All I'm saying is, with the Maelstrom Lightning Staff, we drop a little bit of that spell damage, but we still get the 189 just for having this equipped. So when we drop Julianos, we're only dropping 100 spell damage, but we're gaining so much damage from these light attacks, which this build is based upon, and weaving those in and out. And then you go back to the front bar, and you got infused, so your shock damage is proccing off each light attack you do and that heavy attack on the front bar. And what else? And the enemies are taking more damage just because of the Blockade of Storms, and we have 100% uptime on it. So overall, this performs so well. And you can take a look at the numbers. I mean, 1,300 magic recovery. That's nothing like insane. It's not extremely high. I'm not running anything that would give me magic recovery other than Witch Mother's Potent. Max health 16,244. A little low. You can add a little bit of health by switching to enchant, or I currently run at 64 magic. You can put a little health in there, but if you have trust in your healers, it's really not a big deal. And then let's see, spell damage. I mean, unbuffed, I'm at on the front bar sitting at 2285 and 2209 on the back. So that's that difference in the spell damage when we drop. It's not even 100. Spell crit, about 43.2% chance. I originally was going to run Outcast build and kind of go forth with that. And I was excited to drop the pet, and unfortunately it didn't perform like I wanted it to, and like he expected it to, and like anybody in the community expected it to. So we don't really have a crit heavy build. We don't need it. I mean, we still run Shadow because Thief got nerfed so hard, and we got our spell crit from things from Julianos, but I'm not trying to focus on Mother Sorrow just because of the nerf it took. And We get some spell crit from things like Ice Heart, but you know, you could run Infallible Aether, and I ran it, and that got me 30k DPS. All these different builds, I was getting 30k DPS when I was running 5 IA, and I was using Necropotence, 5 IA, and Julianos. The problem when you drop the Necro in the pet build is the reliability of Force Pulse and Crystal Frags is difficult, and my DPS was fluctuating a lot more than it was when I was using this Julianos and Necro build. I even tried the Best in Slot from last patch using 5 Necro, 3 Moondancer, and Maelstrom on the back bar. I didn't have a Maelstrom on a second Lightning Maelstrom, so I used a random Sharpen Shock. And then I tried a random Infuse Shock. I mean, I tried so many different things. And I'm telling you and anybody that's watching this, as of right now, this is the best that I hit. So let me pull up that Parse again. So before I started running some dungeons, the best Parse I had was 32,737. I did it again after I switched back and got 32,174. Best Parse is this one right here. This was my best Parse. Even my best Parse before this patch was 33k. This has been my best Parse I've ever had, and that's 34.5k. Your dots are your lifeline as this build. Liquid Lightning, Blockade, Storms, and your pet have got to be up at all times. Got to keep those up. They are doing so much damage. So much damage. I mean, everything's doing quite a bit of damage. But keeping these dots up, things like Shock Clench, Daedric Prey, just keeping all these dots applied, keep full uptime, is what's going to keep you alive. Not alive, but keeping you having really high DPS. And when we can take a look at this, even though our crit chance is like 50%, hit the crit on these things. I mean, they're 70% crit almost, 61, 59, 70 on Thunderous Rage, 65 on the light attack, 67 on the heavy attack, 89% crit on the Daedric Prey. It crit 8 out of 9 times. It's insane. I don't have to have 85% crit with Mother Sorrow. I don't need it. It's a waste. So I want to go into CP, because I don't go into this a lot. But I changed a few things around that helped me also get up to 34k. Alright, so I'm not going to go into these, because, I mean, I guess I could. 34 Ironclad, it's kind of low. I'm really putting the rest of the CP I get into that. 30 Thick Skin, 64 Hardy, and 41 Elemental Defender. 24 Quick Recovery. The reason these are like this right now is because I was doing VMA for a while and I just switched to this, but this stuff doesn't matter for your DPS Parse. This matters about your survivability. Here, 15 Warlord, Breaking Free. You're going to get a lot of that, so you got to make sure it's not too expensive to break free. You can take some of those points and put it in other areas, but 75 Tenacity. Our heavy attacks are restoring a ton of magic, ton of resources with our heavy attacks, especially with Witch Mother's Potent Brew on top of this. It's awesome. And then our magic recovery is boosted by 15% of that. So, and then tumbling, roll dodge. I like having a little bit in here because I actually find sometimes that roll dodge is more important than Warlord breaking free. I find it better to roll dodge and miss the AoE than from any type of AoE or any type of one-shot kill, as opposed to breaking free from a CC. This is good for... this might be good for the new trial. I haven't done the new trial, especially not in vet, but I'm not getting CC'd enough to make that useful, but I can dodge one-hit kills if the aggro gets lost, and that's when I want to use it. So feel free to swap either between Warlord and Tumbling, but those are the two there. But really your big thing here is your recovery. That's Arcanist and Tenacity. So this is the important part. Again, I'm not a capped out CP, so I don't have as much spell penetration as I'd like, so I could probably sneak out another 1k, maybe 2k damage if I get the rest of my points and I'm able to put them in Spell Erosion. as of right now, I don't have it. So I run 45 Elfborn, increase the damage of my critical strikes. 17%, it's huge. And increase Flame, Frost, Shock, magic damage 10%, so shock damage is doing 10% more damage. None in Master at Arms anymore. I had some in there, but I found it more useful to throw it in Spell Erosion. Even though we do so many light attacks, you want that penetration so all your spells are penetrating. Not just your light attacks are doing a little bit more damage. And obviously the usual 75 Taumaturge. So not only all of our again, like I said, most of our damage right now is coming from dots, our damage over time. So they're getting a buff of 25%, and concussed enemies are taking 10% more damage. It just synergizes so nicely. So you want to have these things on. So that's champion points. Again, have any questions, you can let me know. Let's see. Skills. I actually have the same exact skills set up as last patch. I use on the back bar, again, probably what I would argue the most important bar. Liquid Lightning, Volatile Familiar, Blockaded Storm, so really your dots. Mage's Wrath, so you'll just stick on this bar when it's execute phase. And Bound Aegis to get that max magic by 8%. It's big. And then Thunderous Rage. The reason we put Thunderous Rage on the back bar and not the front bar is because we want Shooting Star on the front bar. Because we do our heavy attack on the front bar and we get more magic regen off the heavy attack. And this increases our max magic. So I'll show you. Front bar max magic is 47k, back bar is 46. It's not a lot. It's really, it's not. But it's something, and it's something to think about. And it's easier for this rotation anyways to do it like this. Front bar, when you're doing your DPS parse, unless you have someone coming in to help you out and apply Elemental Drain, which you can, it's fine. I'm just so used to applying it myself that I have it ingrained in. You put that on so when you do your parse you get an idea of what your actual damage will be, because this will always be up in Trials fights and should be in Dungeons fights as well. Bound Aegis, obviously, to keep that up. Gotta have our pet on the bar. We don't activate it on this bar, but we'll activate it on the back bar, but I'll show you the rotation. And then Daedra Prey, add some damage with our pet, and it gives a nice 10,000 magic damage, and anybody else nearby. Pets do another 55% damage because of this, and it works nicely the time that it's placed on. That this thing has almost 100% uptime. Like right when it goes off, I'm almost applying it again immediately after. And then Shock Clench, arguably better than Crystal Frags because you apply this once and it does the same amount of damage over time as Crystal Frags would do once, and it fits into our rotation much more nicely, helps out with our resource management because we're not trying to wait to get Crystal Frags to proc off of Force Pulse, and it reduces the variabilities that we have, so it makes the rotation easier, thus damage output is higher. Not to say that damage output would be higher with Force Pulse Crystal Frag type build. Some people might make it work, but this is what I've found so far to be most effective, and I've had some pretty good rotations with Crystal Frags and Force Pulse on all these different builds, and it didn't work, which is why I wasn't getting the same damage, and the resource management was so much harder. So yeah, and I'll go through it slowly the first time, but basically what happens is you come up, you apply Elemental Drain, you hit your pot, you would throw down your Destro ult, I don't have it right now, and then Liquid Lightning, light attack, blockade, light attack, activate your pet, light attack, swap balls, apply Daedra Prey, light attack, Shock Clench, heavy attack, swap bars, reapply pots, and every 2 rotations, you apply another. Key thing here is, see how I'm doing this? You're going to get more damage when you have someone else applying it, because ideally it's less time you spend casting it, thus the fight takes less long, more damage. However, you can kind of cancel it, so what I do is when I go to apply it on the second rotation, I'll hit it and then immediately bar swap. And if you do that, it essentially is like, it didn't take it. So I go right from my heavy attack, Elemental just something to try. It's difficult. I'll show you, and we'll go into the DPS parts right now that I recorded it. I'll play it right now, and then we'll come back into this. And again, I already went over the combat metrics, but just so you can get an idea of how it works, I'll show you that. Alright, welcome back. So as you can see, the best that I reached, again, let's see where it was. Top save device. 34, 514K. Keep my pots up 100% of the time in that fight. You have to. Gotta keep those up all the time. Gotta have that alchemy passive unlocked. Alchemy is fairly easy to get leveled up. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Is it going to help you min-max? Yes. So, if that's what you're looking to do, which is probably why you're watching this video right now, I recommend it. Other than that, just keeping your dots up all the time, getting used to the rotation. It's not too bad. It might look intimidating. I don't know. But for me, it makes sense once you practice it. Might be hard at first. Don't expect to get a lot of damage. Just, I would start out by getting used to the pressing of the buttons. Have your buttons mapped in a way that is easy to bar swap and go into the next ability. But I mean, you know, I'm not going to go too much more into this, but you can change some things around, make it your own. I'm sure, you know, Outcast's a really good player, and a lot of people, I go to him for a lot of my build ideas and tips and tricks to this kind of thing and get the most damage I can. He's been extremely busy. He's a great content creator. He puts out a shit ton of videos on a bunch of different characters. So hopefully this can kind of help the community and just help people figure out what's going to be best in slot. I'm not saying this is. I'm just saying that I've tested every single ideally best in slot build that you can think of, and tried to normalize all the variables and the factors and swapping them in and out and remorphing and unmorphing constantly, Daedric Prey to Haunting Curse, and back and forth. And I spent a lot of time today doing this and barely got to finish one of the new dungeons and couldn't even finish the other one. But I want to figure I wanted to figure this out, and I was able to eclipse my previous best Parse using this build in this patch. So that says something. Maybe you can too. Maybe you're quicker with your rotation. Maybe you can animation cancel better than I can. I know Outcast can, so he could probably even use this build and get another 2k damage on top of it. But as of right now, my opinion is this is a good setup. If you have any questions at all, I strongly encourage anybody to ask in the comments. All I ask is that you be constructive and not throw hate around, because everybody's just trying to figure this out. This is just my input. This is my advice. This is what I've seen. I've been playing the game a lot. This Mag Sorc's my main. I don't claim to know everything. I just claim to know that I was able to get 34.5k DPS, and that's with trying to discover what's new best in slot. And you can take it as it may be, but this is what I'm using. And don't throw hate around that I'm using a pet build. Trust me. I wish I wasn't. I can't reach this DPS without it, unfortunately. I just can't. That could be a fault of my own, and my rotations on the other styles and the other builds, but again, from my testing today, this was what I found to be best. This is what I think is best because of these reasons and because of the theories I kind of explained. And this is why I think people were wrong for dropping the Maelstrom Staffs too quick. You know, and one last thing I'll say is, if you have been lucky enough to get an infuse on the Maelstrom Staff, you're going to even get more damage on this build. Because you drop the Julianos, and right now I'm getting the 189, so I'm missing like 80. I know a guy who was using it, and he put this build together, the same type of thing, when I was kind of explaining to him what I thought would be best in slot. And he had an infused Maelstrom Lightning Staff, and 209, 280, no, 220, something like that. I don't know, but anyways, the infused enchantment, or infused trait, buffs the enchantment of the weapon, and this spell damage on these Maelstrom Staffs are part of that enchantment. So all of this gets buffed. 1341, and the spell damage gets buffed when you have infused. It is so powerful. I can only imagine the extra DPS that would go off with an infused enchant. I really do. But yeah, so that's the build. Again, let me know what you think. I hope that this has been, I hope it's been helpful to the community. I hope people take this. I hope people go off and make their own builds out of this. And I hope that we as a community can figure out, you know, some other ideas, some other options to fit into this. Just, I'm saying as of now, to make some sense out of all this craziness Sauce has put us through in these past couple days, especially today. This right now is working really well for the Mag Sorc, and it's not hard to acquire. Most likely you already have Necropotence. If not that hard to get. You can buy it if you don't have the gold, you can farm it. And other than that, the only hard part about this build to acquire is really the Maelstrom Staff, and it's not absolutely necessary. It just does add 2 to 3k DPS from what I found, and that's from what my combat metrics shows. It's what, when we analyze the Parse, that's what it shows. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave any comments in the description that again are, or comments below that are helpful, and I hope that you know, this creates some activity in the community, and I hope that you know, I get to communicate with the community more as well, and get to talk with all of you and explain this and figure out new builds. But for right now, thanks for tuning in.